You know, I'm all about saving a few bucks when it comes to buying tools for the workshop. So the guys over at Banggood sent me some tools here. Hopefully I can pass those savings along to you. And I'll leave a link to all the tools that I'm using here today, as well as a link to their website and their spring sale they've got going on right now. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. Be sure to stick with me all the way to the end because I'm definitely saving my favorite to the last. So the first thing I'm going to show you here is a corner clamp they sent me. You see how it comes packaged. Now this particular one comes with 2 in a pack. And the first thing I can tell you is how sturdy this feels. That is solid aluminum. And I don't know if this is anodized or probably painted, but you can tell it's quite nice. It does have measurements on the ones, actually both sides. And hopefully, with the help of a good machinist square, we can double check and make sure these are square. And that looks bang on. Just double check the inside. Same thing. And there are a couple of little accessories here to help you use these. And I'll just mention too, these are nicely packaged the way they come too, because I've definitely ordered tools before that were very rough handled and they were beat around in the box and not packaged very well. So I'm impressed with that part for sure. And the way these go together, you can kind of tell how that looks. Knob on the back. And just for a quick demonstration, I'll show you this. Comes with a little washer. And you place it on the knob. Okay, and so the way this works, if you're not familiar, basically you take this piece and you've got lots of holes for options here. I'm just going to go about halfway. I'm going to push the little red piece up next to the board. It may take a little bit of fidgeting around to get it lined up. And if you've got project pieces, you're not going to have to do this every single time because they're going to be probably similar in size. So we've got it up there. Give that a good snug. And we go on to the next piece. And before you know it, you've got a corner that's basically perfectly square there. It's going to be a great addition to your shop, especially if you're doing cabinets or anything of that sort. While we're on the topic of corner clamping, let me show you this other tool I picked up from Banggood. And now this one, I will say, is probably a clone of another brand you guys have seen. This one requires no adjusting. It automatically adjusts. The way it works is right here. You can see that's going to make a 90-degree corner. Works like vice grips or locking pliers, it might be called. Let me show you how that works. Okay, same scenario here. We're going to take this clamp off. And I am really liking these. I'm glad I got those clamps. Been wanting those for a while. Anyway, we take this other clamp here, line these up, and with any corner clamps, I'm going to say, unless you've got something holding them, it's going to be a little fidgety trying to get them to stay in place until you use it. This one's not too bad. Basically, you line your 2 pieces up inside the clamp here. And lock it down. Simple as that. Now this particular tool does have, if you'll notice, a little knob here. And that's going to allow you to basically adjust the amount of tension you're going to have on this thing when you put it in this corner. Give you a tighter squeeze or a looser squeeze. Personally, I like it a little tight. That way I know the parts aren't going anywhere after I clamp it. Okay, up next, they've got this hold down clamp made for dog holes. You're familiar with basically any workbench that's got dog holes in it. This little clamp slides down in the dog hole You got this cam lever here that raises up, pushes force down on there. Let's show you how this works. Okay, so this one's a little hard to get in there and show you exactly how this works on a tripod. So I'm going to hold the camera here. You can see the clamp up close here, how the cam piece works. So that same piece we were using just a moment ago, slide that down till it's good and tight. Put some good tension. As you can probably tell, I'm shaking the table. That thing holds it down good. Let's do a little work with that while it's held down there. And you may be able to tell by the camera here, this part right here is just a little bit rough. We'll take my favorite chisel here, just clean that up a little. Also works good. You want to hold it here to do some chopping down. You're going to do some dovetails or mortises. So the next tool, when I seen this one, I thought this would be really handy in the shop. I can't tell you the number of times I've went to mark something square, needed to mark it down the edge, only to, have a little issues trying to get it marked up just right. Well, this one eliminates that altogether. You can see, and I don't know what they call this one exactly. I'm going to call it a wraparound tri-square. That's 45, 90 of course, and then you can see it wraps around the edge. Take something like this 4x4 block here, lay it over, so you can mark here and down the side all in one pass. And we'll demonstrate it just a little bit here. Find something that don't look too bad. Just say we're making our mark here. Then normally I would come in with a marking knife or something to that extent, lay it in here, flip it over and make a mark, then come back with a square again. But with this one, you just mark right next to it, and your line is perfectly drawn. Okay, on to the final tool, and be sure to stick around because I'm going to give my positives and negatives to each and every one of these tools, so don't miss that. But finally, my favorite tool in the whole bunch, and you'll look at this thing and probably be scratching your head wondering what in the world this is. Well, it's a dowel maker. So unfortunately, this thing doesn't come with any instructions whatsoever, but it's not too hard to figure out. It's got the actual dowel maker itself. Got a little nifty clamp so you can clamp it onto a workbench. Got your cutter here, which is a carbide cutter that's locked in there. Also, in case you have to rotate this, if they get dull, comes with a tool to take that loose. All right, in here you can already see it's already fitted with one of these, and that's a 5/16 in here. And these are labeled. It comes with a 1/2 inch as well as a 3/8, and you can also get those in metric if you want. A drill bit, and I'm going to call this thing a spindle, so you can see the little spindle or chuck or whatever they want to call it with that. Like I said, no instructions included, and to be honest, I actually had to go back to the website to figure out what that was. Basically, locked it up in your drill. Take your, we'll call it dowel blank. And if you're not comfortable holding that, you can definitely, clamp that up in a vise or something. Okay, let's see how this works. Now, I have got the end started down there, but let's see just how good it works. As you can see, that turns that down pretty nice. It does leave it a little bit fuzzy, but on a dowel, it doesn't really matter. You're going to knock that in the hole, and you're never going to see that anyway. So I've showed you these. Let's go through the positives and the negatives on each and every one of these tools. So first up, this corner clamp here. I think it's a great tool, especially the auto tensioning part of it. So that's a big plus. It's good and strong. The negatives to this, as well as this one, would be just the fact that you have to kind of hold the pieces in place. It's a little fidgety, but that's not really the fault of the clamp. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. So that's probably my positives and negatives on that one. And as for these, I am super impressed with these, how strong they are, how they're made. It's very nice. It's not a cheap made tool for sure. I'll definitely be adding more of these to my arsenal in the future. I really like the clamping features of this. It's very strong that I can tell. And as I said before with the other one, the only negative I see on this one, it's just a little fidgety as far as holding these to a 90 degree and trying to hold it and clamp it at the same time. But, you know, like I said, nature of the beast. Okay, so my thoughts on this bench dog clamp are is that it's like everything here so far has been very well made. This one is like I said, a 3/4, so luckily that fit mine. Honestly, I did not check to see if they have them in other sizes, but I'm sure they do. It is actually, I know that's hard to tell, but it's actually labeled on the side here for 3/4. It's super strong. Like I said, it's made well. It's got a very good construction to this. And honestly, I can't think of a negative. I don't see anything wrong with this at all. It's good and strong. It holds your workpiece well. I can't knock that one a bit. Down to the end of the line here, that what I'm calling the wraparound tri-square. Same deal. It's made well. Everything here that I can tell is basically aluminum. Like I said, I don't know if it's painted, anodized, whatever. It's accurate. I've tested it with other squares. It's 90 degrees like I need it to be. So everything's positive there. The only negative to this one I can see is you do have to have a decent sized workpiece for this not to get in the way. If this was shorter, this piece is actually going to be getting in the way and hitting the tabletop or whatever. So either you're going to use it on a larger material or you're going to have to use the other material lifted up off the, the work table. That's the only drawback I see to that one. And finally, on to the one I said is my favorite, which is this dowel maker. I love this thing. Now, honestly, I'm not going to use this every single day, but when I get in a project, I need some dowels made up and I don't have any on hand that are store-bought, this is going to be a great little option, especially for the different sizes that it comes with. Great little tool right there. And as far as any kind of negatives, I know that's kind of hard to tell. I'm assuming the red here is probably a paint of some sort because some of it did rub off. I'm not super concerned about that as long as the tool does what it's supposed to. The clamping area here, it's not super high. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of workbenches here that has that narrow of a depth. I've got larger ones. So luckily my table saw where I've got my router in there, I can mount it right to the edge of that and it does fine. The one thing I thought I'd be telling you was a negative was that little spindle or chuck or however they call this thing. And to be honest, I chucked that thing up in there, drove it into the end of this dowel, just knowing it's going to strip out because you're drilling into end grain. But it actually held surprisingly well all the way to drill this thing through. Now, I did not try this on any hardwood. This is just a piece of pine and never offered to slip a beat. Later on, we'll have to try out some oak or something to that extent and see how good that holds up. And before I forget to mention, whenever you want to change this piece out to go to a larger size, literally just take this little thumb wheel, basically a little nut. That piece falls out. Next one goes in. Just lock it down. And then the only other negative to this really is not a negative. It's just the fact that you have to have a small enough piece to be able to get started inside of here to work it down to the size dowel you need, which is usually not an issue. You just cut a few thin strips, get to making dowels. So there you have it, guys. All these tools here that came from Banggood. And to be honest, I can't really fault any of these too bad. I would, if they hadn't sent them to me, I would still buy these and be just as happy. And that's the honest truth. Now, as far as the ones of these that I'll be using the most, it's probably going to be these corner clamps here and the bitch dog clamp. The rest of these, definitely I'm going to use them. Just going to be a little boring living in my shop. So that's going to do it, folks. Hopefully you like checking out these tools I got to show you. I had a blast checking them out. You know, it's always cool to get new tools in the shop. As I said earlier, I'll leave links to all these tools in case you want to check out some of these for yourself, as well as their website and the sale they got going on right now. Thanks to the guys over at Banggood for sending me all these cool tools. Thank you guys for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, all that stuff that YouTube likes. And we'll see you in the next video.